Alright, so we start this story in a village, and we see our main character Lythe telling his friend Sarah to wait and that this is too much for him. However, Sarah tells him that this is nothing and that they are training to become holy knights in the future after all, telling Lythe that they need to work hard and then their efforts will pay off. We then see Lythe completely out of breath as he asks Sarah if there really is any meaning to this training. Sarah thinks for a bit before she says that, of course, because after all, if they train a lot, then they will get strong. Lythe falls down to the ground and wonders if that's really true. We then get into Lythe's thoughts as he says that Sarah is his childhood friend. He says that she is kind and good at looking after others, calling her like a sister to him, but moreover, she's his only friend and they have been training together to become holy knights. Sarah then stands up and says thank you for the food. Lythe is surprised that she is done already and that she is always able to finish so quickly. Lythe then asks Sarah if she knows how the citizens of the 4th Division live. The people there live in extreme poverty, and they're doing everything that they can just to survive. But once you turn 18 in this world, then the gods will give you a class, such as Blademaster, Mage, Cleric, Farmer, or Merchant, just to name a few. Lythe says that they are not obligated to live according to the class given to them. However, those who become farmers or merchants cannot work as adventurers, explaining that combat-oriented classes such as warriors and mages are strong, so trying to surpass them through sheer effort is impossible. But just as he is about to finish his sentence, Sarah goes and tries to strike him down with her sword. Lythe asks her what she is doing, but Sarah says that she's sure that Lythe will be fine and that he will get a strong class. She then puts out her hand towards him before they go back to training. Lythe thought that with that being said, he still felt anxious. After that, we get to the present day and we see some people in a market. We then see a grown-up Lythe and Sarah. Lythe says that it feels like a festival here. Sarah looks to him and says that she bets that he couldn't sleep last night, and he says that she is right. While walking around, some store owners see Lythe and call him the Duke's son and say that today must be the class division day and wish him the best of luck. Sarah playfully says that someone is popular and Lythe tells her to shut up. They then walk into the division class place and Sarah is amazed that there are so many people here and that everyone is so serious. She notices that the happy ones got combat-oriented classes, while those who got ordinary classes look so disappointed. Suddenly, however, everyone starts to scream as Duke Ride Wellesley has arrived. Sarah tells Lythe that his dad is here, and everyone else says that it's the Holy Knight who rules this land. Sarah then spots someone behind Lythe's dad and asks Lythe who that is. Lythe says that it's his younger brother and that their mothers are different though. He says that his brother's mother is from the 4th Division, which is why his father, an aristocrat, doesn't acknowledge him, but that things could change if he gets a strong class. Suddenly, the priest calls up Kite Wellesley. Lythe and their father looks closely. The text then reveals that once you place your hand on the crystal, it'll reveal your class symbol. Suddenly, everyone looks shocked as Kite has gotten the Holy Knight symbol. It is revealed that the Holy Knight class is extremely rare and that only 1 out of 10,000 becomes one. While it's more likely to have the same class as your parents, the chances are still slim. However, Kite Wellesley was chosen as a Holy Knight. After that, their dad Ride goes up on the stage and says, "Well done," and calls Kite his son. Kite is mad and thinks that this is the first time he has called him his son and that he has never before expected anything from him. Kite knows that he's just trying to use him to maintain his authority, but he then thinks that it's whatever, as he also plans on exploiting his position in the Duke's family. Next up is Sarah. She walks up while she is super nervous and she tells herself to calm down. She closes her eyes, and it's revealed that she also is a Holy Knight, and everyone goes to congratulate her. She then goes to Lythe and says that it's his turn, and he looks nervous as he says, "Yeah." The priest then calls out Lythe's name, and Sarah tells him good luck. He walks past his father, who tells him to not disappoint him. Lythe says that he knows. He then thinks that Holy Knight is a rare class, and that 2 of them appearing on the same day and in the same temple is unheard of, but even then, he is determined to become a Holy Knight just like them. He puts his hand on the crystal and thinks that he won't lose to anyone, and that he will seize his power with his own hands, thinking that with all of his might, he will become stronger. However, as the priest goes to check on the results, he sees that there is nothing. Lythe asks him why the crystal isn't reacting and what it means, saying that it must be some kind of mistake and that this can't be happening. Sarah looks shocked while his father looks mad. The priest then says that Lythe's class is jobless. Lythe looks defeated as it's explained that upon turning 18, a class is bestowed by the gods as per the world's norm. However, Lythe received no such thing. We then get over to the Wellesley residence, where a maid knocks on Lythe's door. She walks in and lets him know that his father is calling for him. Lythe walks into his father's room, and his father tells him that their relationship as parent and child ends here. He tells him that starting today, he's no longer a member of the Wellesley household, nor does he see Lythe as his son, saying that the Wellesleys consider Kite as the eldest son now. He then tells Lythe that he has 1 hour and that he isn't welcome here anymore. Lythe looks absolutely crushed as he is hearing that. We then go over to Sarah, who is in some kind of pub. Someone tells her that she is one of them now and that the drinks are on him tonight. Her father then tells everyone to drink up. However, Sarah is a bit embarrassed and tells him to stop. Someone else says that 2 holy nights at once is wild and that this town is incredible. Someone else says that they feel bad for Duke, explaining that people anticipated what class the Holy Knight's son would get only for him to get the jobless class. But still, his younger brother managed to become a Holy Knight. After that, we get to Lythe, who is outside his house with a bag that he has packed. He looks out towards the sky and says that he needs to get a job first, but still, what can a classless person like him do? We then get back to the pub, where someone says that they saw Lythe leave town earlier. This makes Sarah get up right away, and she starts running away at full speed, which confuses everyone. She then runs around the whole town, but is unable to find Lythe. We then get back to Lythe, and it's explained that since Lythe doesn't have a class, and he also doesn't have any skills, but in order to get by, he needs money, and without skills, the only thing he can do right now is work as a cargo guy. Suddenly someone calls him Sir Lythe and throws something at him. It's someone who he is carrying cargo for. He throws him some food and says that it's the commerce food, but that he's free to have some if he would like. The others just laugh, and someone else says that he's sure that this wouldn't suit his palate. However, he still picks up the apple and bites into it. He thinks that it's pathetic that he has to be carrying cargo and not a sword. The horses abruptly stop, and Lythe asks what's going on. Someone informs him that the forest is dangerous and that they should proceed cautiously. But as he does so, he is shot in the head with an arrow, and immediately after that, a group of bandits rush out of it. Another swordsman is preparing for battle, but he is slashed down without any problems. The bandits claim to have killed all the escorts, but they ask what they should do with the others. The boss simply gives the signal to kill everyone, but then someone screams, and it's Lythe who has picked up a knife and is going towards the boss. Although Lythe believes that he has been practicing swordplay for years, and that his lack of combat skills does not make him entirely useless, he is ultimately dealt with quickly, as the boss just knocks him to the ground with little to no effort. Lythe believes that he may not have a chance against a skilled opponent, but if he doesn't fight, then who will? The boss asks him who the heck he is and what a cargo kid like him thinks he is doing. The bandit boss labels Lythe a nuisance as he stands up once more. We then swiftly move on to the people in the cart, and the young girl asks her father what a class is. He tells her that it is the power that the gods give you when you turn 18, and that you can even say that your class determines your life. Blade masters are skilled fighters who can defend others, and since he is a merchant, his work entails trading, but there are also farmers who grow crops, for instance. The little girl then asks her father if Lythe is a blade master. We then see that Lythe is gasping for air, and the boss bandit uses his warrior skill and physique boost to begin chipping away at his sword. When Lythe loses concentration, the boss bandit takes his arm and spins him around, causing him to fall to the ground. Before Lythe can even get up, the boss bandit has already kicked him in the face. The boss bandit looks at him disappointed and says that this is why he thought that Lythe was weak, since he isn't even a blade master. Lythe, on the other hand, says that the boss bandit is strong. The boss bandit then holds his blade towards Lythe, and Lythe wonders if this is where his life ends. The boss bandit announces that playtime is over, and the people in the cart says that they will kill Lythe. But just then, something snaps for Lythe as he takes his knife from his back pocket and tries to get in a sneak attack on the boss bandit. However, even then, it gets easily deflected, as he says that he can dodge an attack like that, even with his eyes closed. Lythe then, out of nowhere, says that it looks like the boss bandit's abilities aren't all that impressive. The boss bandit then starts to smile annoyed as he goes ham on Lythe. As Lythe is receiving punch after punch, he says that this is frustrating, and he wonders just why he's so weak. But suddenly, he is able to hear a voice. He is confused to what the voice he is hearing is. The voice then tells him that he has obtained the skill physique boost. He thinks that it's a woman's voice before the voice continues, and says that he has also obtained the skill blade boost, which we can clearly see now as he is able to block the boss bandit's sword, and the boss bandit is in complete shock by this. The boss bandit then tries to strike Lythe down, however Lythe spins around the attack and jumps up and cuts the boss bandit in his neck. He then throws his blade onto another bandit and manages to land it right in his face. However, it's far from over, as someone appears behind him and tries to attack with an axe. However, Lyth just turns the axe around and then uses it himself to slay down the bandit. Lyth then starts to laugh manically as he looks pretty fired up. Suddenly, Lyth goes back to normal and the girl from the cart starts to run towards him at full speed. She jumps to him and hugs him. She is starting to cry as she explains that she was so scared. Her dad then comes behind Lyth and says that they own him their life, and if he hadn't intervened, then they would have been dead by now. The dad then asks if his class was an offensive one all along. However, Lyth says that it wasn't, and then he himself starts to wonder how he managed to defeat those bandits. However, he admits that if there's one thing that he remembers, then it was when Lyth hit the boss bandit, and he felt like he got a skill. And then he also heard the voice of a goddess telling him about it. He pats the girl's head, while thinking that he doesn't know what just happened, but that he's glad that he managed to save them. The dad then asks if he can have a word, and Lyth says, of course. The dad says that he'd like to repay Lyth for saving them, and asks if there is anything that he needs help with, be it economic assistance or someone's good offices, explaining that he wants to thank their savior, and that if it's something he can grant, then Lyth shouldn't hesitate to tell him. Lyth is quiet for some time before says that if the dad insists, then there is something that he would like to know and that he would appreciate his help with it. We then get to the next day, where we get to the priest. We see his apprentice coming by and telling him that a man has come requesting a class reassessment. Sir Augustinus tells him to pay him no mind, but the other guy tells him that he bears a letter from one of his friends, which shocks Sir Augustinus. He gets the letter and right away understands what happened. We then see Lyth sitting with Augustinus, and he tells Lyth that he and the girl's dad have been friends for decades, explaining that they haven't seen each other for some years, but it seems like he's doing fine. Lyth is just in awe that the dad knew Augustinus, the kingdom's archbishop. Augustinus then says that he is sure lucky to have survived such a situation. Augustinus then gets right into it, and says that it seems like Lyth has been assigned the jobless class, and asks him if he wants to be reassessed. Augustinus says that normally they don't do that, but since it's a request from a friend, they shall make an exception, but he warns Lyth not to get his hopes too high up. After all, it has never happened before that the crystal would give an incorrect verdict. Augustinus looks in the crystal and says that it's like he thought, and that his class remains blank. But suddenly his face changes, and he says that there are both a physique boost as well as a blade boost. He is amazed, saying that Lyth isn't even a blade master, and wonders how on earth this could happen. He explains that skills aren't something you can give to just anyone either. He goes even deeper, as he says that physique boost and blade boost are combat-oriented skills, which neither farmers nor merchants can learn. However, Lyth still possesses these skills. He tells Lyth that it's already surprising that he don't have a class at 18 years old, and yet he have a blade master's skill despite not being one. Lyth asks what his power means, but Augustinus says that he doesn't know. However, as he is drinking his tea, he thinks of something and tells Lyth to come with him. They then go to the archive chambers. Lyth is amazed by the insane number of books, but Augustinus laughs and says that this is nothing compared to the kingdom's library. He then tells Lyth that he just remembered something and that there was someone in the past who also had no class, saying that according to this book's records, that person had a hidden skill, telling Lyth that their skill was the ability to mimic their opponent's skill, and if his ability is the same, then it should explain his lack of skills. Lyth then tells him that the truth is that he only got the skills after hitting the bandit. Augustinus says that he sees, and says that it's why he possessed combat skills. However, still the finer details remain unclear, and Augustinus tells him that he can't confirm it, and that Lyth has to discover everything on his own. Lyth then leaves, however he thinks that it was good enough finding out that someone in the past had the same circumstances as him. Lyth thinks that he wants to know more about this power, but that he doesn't have a concrete way of doing it. He then smiles and says that in that case he will become a knight, and then figure everything out. We then see Lyth being in a building where someone tells him that he's successfully enrolled for the exam. She tells Lyth that the night exam will be held the day after tomorrow, and to make sure that he has his application form with him. Lyth smiles as he says thank you. He then goes outside and sees a super tasty looking meat stick and can't stand not trying it. He then explains that this is the imperial capital and that there's hustle and bustle everywhere. However, with that being said, he sees lots of strong looking people around, thinking that he should practice until the day of the exam. However, his mind then quickly goes blank as he sees Sarah right in front of him being totally out of breath. Sarah looks kind of insane as she says that she has finally managed to find him. Lyth doesn't even know what to say, and he just looks completely stunned. Anyway, Sarah goes closer with a super menacing expression, and she looks pissed, but in the last second she jumps into his arms and hugs him. Lyth falls down and Sarah begins to cry and says that she was so insanely worried for Lyth, saying that at one point she even thought that he had committed suicide. Lyth tells her that he is incredibly sorry, but asks if they shouldn't get up before anything else, and Sarah starts to blush. Anyway, they go to the forest, and Lyth formally apologizes, telling her that she must have been surprised seeing him leave his home without contacting her, but explains that he had to work as a cargo boy to earn some money, but while he was on the job, they got ambushed by bandits. Sarah then asks if that means that he got his skills from that bandit, and Lyth says that he did. Sarah looks happy, and says that who would have thought that he would have such a power, and says that it's great, saying that since he has skills, he is going to take the night exam, right? Lyth looks super fired up as he says that he will, and Sarah smiles even more. They then get to a rock, and Sarah asks Lyth to show her his skills, and asks him to try and slash through this boulder. Lyth pulls out his sword and thinks that he isn't sure if he can do it, but here goes nothing. He then uses his physique boost, and combined with his blade boost, he goes for the rock and manages to slice a piece of it. Sarah says that his physique boost and his blade boost are both very powerful, and with those he should be able to easily pass the night exam, before telling Lyth that he still haven't seen what a holy knight skill is, and she says that she will show him. We then see that it creates a huge explosion in the distance, and Lyth can't believe his eyes as he realizes that this is a holy knight skill. Sarah then looks over to Lyth and says that he got his skills when he hit the bandit, and he says that he did. Sarah then asks Lyth to take out his hand. Lyth is a bit surprised, but they then fist pump, and Lyth acquires the celestial boost and the celestial blade. Lyth is completely blown away. Sarah asks him if he did get any skills, and Lyth says that he did, but asks if Sarah is sure about this, but she says that she is, and that it's not like their power has decreased for her. She starts to leave while saying that she hopes that they will help him out in the exam, and Lyth thanks her. We then see that the whole rock had smashed when Sarah went to attack it, and with a smirk, she says that he will for sure find them useful, before telling him that she will be waiting for him at the nightly order. We then get to the imperial capital, where we see someone saying that, as usual, they have a lot of applicants. However, from what he can see, none of them look promising, and he wonders if they have what it takes to become knights. Suddenly, someone refers to him as Officer Roger and tells him not to say that. We then get explained that the knighthood is one of the highest ranking positions in the kingdom and is a profession that only a few among those who have combat-oriented classes can have. We then get back to real time, where Roger comes forward and says that he is the examiner of this night exam. He tells them that they must have had their reasons for wanting to become a knight. Political, power, glory, money, or anything. However, they don't care about any of that, as only the truly capable ones can succeed. He tells them that once they pass the exam, they will obtain the title of ninth, a status equivalent of that of a baron. However, that is nothing more than a humble beginning, as they have to make their way up through their contributions, and they can even become an upper-class aristocrat. Telling them that their capabilities are everything here, everyone then puts up their fist. We then see the secretary calling up everyone, however. As she gets to Lyth, she sees that there is no class indication. She says that they must have forgotten it. However, he excuses himself and says that the form is accurate. She asks him what he means, and he says that he has received his oracle, but wasn't given any class. She then asks him how he will fight then, and that in order to become a knight, he must have offensive skills like those blade master and mages, not to mention that you also have to be stronger than them. And yet he is saying that he wants to take the test without having a class, asking him if he came here just to injure himself. However, with a bright smile, he tells them that he can fight and that he should be fine. Roger just laughs and calls it interesting, telling her that Lyth has piqued his interest and to let him participate, and she agrees unwillingly. Suddenly, someone comes forward and asks if everyone heard that, saying that the standards of the night exam must have plummeted and that they are now even letting simpletons take the exam. Roger asks who he is, and the secretary says that it's Logan Bentley and that he is an aristocrat. Logan then tells Lyth that there is no way that a jobless weakling like him can become a knight, and that if he doesn't stay in his lane, then he will be in for a good smack. Anyway, Lyth just completely ignores him and asks the secretary if he can still participate, and she says that he still can. Logan tells him not to ignore him, but Lyth looks back with a dead expression and tells him that he doesn't have any space left in his brain for irrelevant stuff. Logan gets mad as he calls him a jobless dreg and pulls out his sword to attack, but just then, Roger comes in their way and asks them who has told them that the exam has already started. Lyth apologizes, and everyone looks stunned towards them, before Roger tells them to go back to their place. Logan then calls out to Lyth and tells him that he looks forward to their fight. Roger just laughs while saying that Lyth has made a new friend. Roger then thinks that it might just be interesting after all. saying that Logan looks fairly capable, but the lad's too vain. Whether he has room for growth or not is hard to tell. Then there is Lythe, who took him by surprise. He is amazed that Lythe has no class, as he managed to deal some damage even with Roger having his physique boost active. He thinks that he takes back what he said earlier and that this year's applicants are promising. After that, Roger gathers up everyone and says that he will now explain the rules of the night recruitment exam, telling them that the test is a real-life combat scenario, so they will fight in a mock battle, and the examiner will grade them based on their performance. But he tells them to remember that this isn't a fight to the death. He explains that they will be wearing these rings of divine protection that he's been made in order to prevent that, and they can form a barrier and block a certain amount of damage. He then tells them that the first who lands a hit and succeeds in breaking the opponent's barrier wins, and tells them to begin. He then calls out Lythe to be the first one, and as he sees his opponent, he laughs as it's none other than Logan. His friends cheer him on and tells him to go and beat that jobless bum to a pulp. They then get close, and Roger asks them if they have equipped their rings of divine protection, and tells them to fight fair and square. Logan then laughs and tells him that it sucks to be Lythe, and that it happened that he took the same exam as Logan. Roger then screams at them to let the exam begin, and Logan starts right away as he pulls out a fire lance, which also makes him into a mage. Lythe then thinks that he now remembers that the Bentleys are a known lineage of mages. Logan then fires the fire towards Lythe, and it goes at a rapid speed, and it explodes around Lythe. Even Roger is amazed by the speed. However, suddenly Logan's eyes widen as he asks how it is possible that his fire lance got cut. They then see Lythe being totally unscratched. Lythe had used Sarah's celestial boost skill to cut it away. He thinks that it's amazing, and that his strength, magic power, and reflexes have increased, saying that he can't believe that he can defend against such fast magic so easily, and he then just continues to cut through them more and more. Even Roger and the people watching can't believe it. Logan then starts to laugh and says that Lythe is pretty good. Logan says that he has no idea why a jobless dreg like him can use skills. However, in the end, he will never be able to beat Logan, as after all he has already mastered top-tier skills, and says that he is a genius. However, Lythe just looks at him, without saying anything, which makes Logan mad, as he says that he just had a great idea, saying that he might have blocked his earlier attack, but asks if he can block this, as he summons a ton of fire lances. Logan sends them all at Lythe, and it crashes down. Roger thinks that not even the Ring of Divine Protect would be able to protect him from that, and he screams that the match is over, but he suddenly stops himself as he sees a sword attack coming towards Logan. It's Lythe who had activated his celestial blade, and Logan says that it's impossible and that it's a Holy Knight skill, so how can he use it? Logan starts to get frustrated as he wonders why his magic isn't working and what the hell is happening, wondering why Lythe has such a spell. He then gets back up and screams at Lythe not to get cocky, telling him that this isn't the last of Logan's abilities as he uses the dragon's breath attack and sends it right to Lythe. Roger even had to use his own magic to protect the others, and he realizes that Logan isn't holding back at all and wonders if he's trying to kill Lythe. The attack starts to spin around Lythe, and Logan just laughs, telling him to witness his powers and telling everyone that he has won this match. But then suddenly, Lythe tells him that he isn't close to winning this match as he cuts the attack and escapes. Logan says that it's impossible as he starts to summon more fire lances. He sends them all at Lythe, who just casually destroys them one after the other before he then gets close to Logan and punches him right in his stomach, which breaks the Ring of Divine Protection and sends him flying away. However, Lythe follows after and gives him another punch just because, and this makes Logan fly back and destroy a big part of the training building. We then see Logan on the floor with Lythe standing above him, and Roger gets close before he says that the victory goes to Lythe. We then spot a huge monster-looking bear who is attacking a mom and their child. The mom asks for somebody to come and save them, and just when the bear is about to strike, Sarah comes and cuts its head off. The kid looks amazed, and Sarah asks them if they are hurt. The kid tells her that it was incredible, and the mom thanks her. Sarah just tells her that it was nothing. The kid then asks Sarah if she is a knight, and she tells him that she is. The kid is once again in awe of that and tells her that in the future, he would like to become a knight as well. Sarah smiles and puts her hand on his head and tells her that she is sure that he will grow up to be an amazing knight before looking up to the sky and telling Lythe that he will also become that. We then actually get back to Lythe. Everyone is in pure awe and says that it was their first time seeing a celestial blade before saying that Logan is the heir of a prestigious noble and that he is a force to be reckoned with, but still, he went down in a flash. After that, we see Lythe obtaining the Fire Lance Rain, and also the Dragon Breath. He thinks that it's probably from when he hit Logan earlier and that he got his skills. He then snaps back to reality and looks to Logan and wonders how he is doing and that this was his first time using a Holy Knight skill, but says that Logan isn't severely injured. Lythe then walks past Roger, and Roger thinks that he's excited to find out what lies ahead for Lythe's future. He then says that they will go into their next match, but that's when Logan screams at him to hold on. He tells Roger that Lythe cheated and that the match is void. Roger asks Logan what he's talking about, and Logan tells him that Lythe faked his calls and called himself jobless when he had been hiding his true power all along, telling him that it's against the Chivalry Act, and that in reality, he's actually a Holy Knight who still participated in the test. He then takes back his words and says that if he's already a Holy Knight, then he doesn't even need to take the test, and he says that he bets that the real Holy Knight is hiding somewhere and helping him from the shadows, which is why Lythe should be disqualified. Everyone is silent, and Lythe says that it's such a far-fetched claim, but that he has to agree that a jobless person who can use a Holy Knight skill is pretty sketchy, and he wonders what will happen now. Roger's assistant then comes and asks him what will be of their match results, and he tells her to put it on hold for now, but then someone comes and tells them that there is no need for that. It's none other than Princess Iris. Everyone bows towards her, and Lythe wonders why the first princess of the Lawrence Empire is here. He then looks up to her, and he sees her smiling towards him. Iris says that everything Lythe has said is true, and that he has no class, but nonetheless the Celestial Boost and Celestial Blade abilities are undeniably his. She then tells Logan that the person who went against the chivalric spirit is none other than himself. Logan looks worried but tells her that he isn't following. Iris then tells him that she has proof, and he then goes to the mage who was with Logan. Iris explains that Logan's friends were using fortifying magic to aid Logan during his match. They try to argue, but she tells them that they can't fool her and that she possesses an appraisal skill, telling them that she can see through all of their tricks. Iris then says that she believes that a fitting punishment is in order, and she orders the knights to take them away. Logan screams at her to wait, but it's no use. After that, Iris looks back and tells everyone that it's case closed, and she asks them all why they look so dumbfounded and tells them all to stand up. Lythe just thinks that Iris is like a tempest. Iris then walks to Lythe and says that he is Lythe, correct? He tells her that she is right. She then inspects him closely before grabbing his arm and telling Lythe that he will become a member of her royal guard. We then see Iris and Lythe walking, and she apologizes for the sudden intrusion before she walks into her father's room, who is also the king, and she tells him that she has brought forth a newly appointed royal guard. Lythe just wonders why he is standing before His Majesty the King, and we then get back to a bit earlier. Roger is in shock by what Iris just said, but she tells him that she shall appoint Lythe as one of her royal guards and asks if that's a problem. Roger tries to tell her to wait, but Iris just asks him if she isn't allowed to take him with her. Roger tells her that it's unprecedented for a newcomer to be placed in the royal guard so swiftly, telling her that there's an established order among knights and those who pass the knight's exam are bestowed the 9th rank. However, only the one leading all knights can claim the 1st rank. Furthermore, only those of the 7th rank or higher are legally permitted to serve in the royal guard, and that it's written clearly in their legal texts. Iris says that it's exactly as he said, and that royal guards must be at least the 7th rank. However, she asks him if there is any law that prevents newcomers from receiving the 7th rank. He says that there isn't, and Iris gives the orders for it to happen. She then grabs Lythe's hands and tells him that she is counting on him, and he tells her that he won't let her down. Iris then says that she hates to be abrupt about this, but tells her that there's someone she would like for Lythe to meet, and he says, of course. And we then get back to the king, and Lythe wonders why he looks so angry. Iris tells her father that he should have seen Lythe's recent duel, and that with his skills, he easily defeated his opponent. The king then calls out for Lythe, telling him that a newcomer immediately appointed as a royal guard is very rare, and saying that it appears that his daughter has taken quite a liking to him. Lythe tells him that he is most humbled. Iris then says that it's one more thing, and she tells her father that she has also chosen Lythe as her prospective husband, which leaves him in awe. Her father then walks towards him and tells him that his daughter seems to hold him in an extra special regard, and he puts out his hand towards Lythe. Lythe just says that it's good that he isn't mad, but as they shake hands, Lythe can feel the king's insane aura, before he says that it's an overwhelming bloodlust, and wonders if he's going to kill Lythe. Lythe then thinks back and says that he defeated the enemy camp all on his own, not to mention that he also took down a dragon in one hit, and now the same very king is directing his bloodlust towards Lythe. Both of them then smiles awkwardly at each other, and the king then laughs and says that he must have some incredible power. Lythe just thinks that it was it for him. The king then tells Lyth that his background doesn't matter if he bears true skill, and tells him that he will even make him a duke or his son-in-law with his deeds. After that, Iris and Lyth walk out, and Lyth says that the king was such a kind man. Iris says that he is right, and that he has always been a gentleman. She then turns to Lyth and tells him that she thinks that they would make a great couple. Lyth just tells her not to joke around like that. She then tells Lyth that he doesn't need to call her princess, and that Iris is just fine. Lyth says that he can't do that, but Iris tells him that it's an order. They then walk down some stairs, and Lyth asks her where they are going. Iris looks back and says that she still hasn't told him, but that she will be introducing him to the royal guards, and tells Lyth that he will serve under her direct command. As she is about to open the door, she tells Lyth that a word of caution is that there might be someone among the royal guards who is after her life, and Lyth just looks in total shock as he hears that. Anyway, they then enter, and Iris presents Lyth as the newest member of the royal guards. Someone right away walks towards him and says hello. He introduces himself as Larg, and that is the heir to Duke Vane's family. And he asks Lyth who he is representing. Lyth says that he is just a commoner, which surprises Larg, who says that to be a royal knight with a commoner background, and says that Lyth must be an outstanding hotshot, and asks him which knightly order he hails from. But Iris says that Lyth was appointed as a knight today, and suddenly, they can feel the whole atmosphere of the room changing to a much more tense feeling. We then see Larg, who looks super annoyed at this. Larg then points to Lyth and says that a swift promotion to 7th without any meritorious deeds to back it up, asking in what world could such a thing be accepted, and he asks Iris who decided on this. Iris then walks towards him with an insane aura, as she tells Larg that it was under her and asks if he has a problem with that. Larg freezes for a moment, but Iris then asks Larg that if he doubts his abilities, why don't he test him out in a quick duel. Lyth just looks lost, but Larg says that he accepts, and that he wants to witness his strength in person. But then the captain, Urs, comes by and tells him to show Iris some more respect, and he tells him that as his captain, he won't allow this duel. Larg tells Urs to please not stop him, but he tells Larg that he is injured right now and that he hasn't fully healed, and he says that he has an idea of his own, which is that he would go up against Lyth. Some other royal guards are amazed by this, and they say that they feel sorry for Lyth. We then hear someone say that Captain Urs is regarded as one of the most powerful of the royal guards, and often viewed as a potential future grandmaster of the knightly order. Iris then speaks up and says that she has confidence in Lyth, and that he has his holy knight skills. However, Urs then tells them that the use of any offensive or defensive skills is not allowed, and that they shall fight fair and square with their blades, and of course they will use their protective rings. Lyth says that he understands, and then the duel begins. Lyth jumps right away towards Urs, who blocks his attack, and Lyth right away thinks that he is tough before he says that it calls for a test of speed, and he then starts attacking endlessly towards Urs. Lyth wonders what's up with his strength and says that his blade feels heavy. As Urs is blocking, he says that Lyth is strong. Larg also says that he hates to admit it, but that he can tell from watching this that Lyth is really strong. Urs then throws an insane attack towards Lyth, who luckily dodges it, but is amazed by the intense power. Urs then jumps towards him and punches Lyth in his stomach, which makes him fly away. Lyth looks hurt and says that he couldn't contain that blow, but thinks that in that case he will switch to offense, and he jumps on top of the building and is about to launch towards Urs. Urs thinks that Lyth is going by offense as the best defense, and calls it a fine judgment, and says that he won't hold back either. And we then see everyone's shocked faces before we see Lyth's sword being chopped off, and we can see him on the ground. However, after that, we see Urs holding the blade in his hand, and inspecting it really thoroughly. After that, we can see everyone looking at him with anticipation, but Urs then declares the match to be his loss, which completely leaves them all really stunned. Urs, however, explains. He says that at first he thought that he could handle Lyth's attack, but in the end his attack was way beyond what he expected. That's why he figured that without using his skills he would be done for, as it was just that powerful. He tells everyone that he ended up using his skill and lost fair and square. We then see Larg, who is amazed that Lyth got the captain to admit defeat. But we then see Urs patting Lyth on his back, and telling all of them that he is strong, and that there's no doubt about that, continuing and saying that it's going to be very thrilling to watch him grow stronger from here. Urs then starts to walk away, while telling all of them that he knows that it's sudden, but he has been assigned a different duty. As of now, the one who will protect the princess starting tomorrow. Before he says who it is, we see everyone getting excited, but Urs then finally lets it out as he looks at Lyth and tells him that it's up to him now. Lyth is even amazed by that, as he looks super shocked and asks him if he is sure. We then get to the next day, where the text says that their job this time is to escort Princess Iris. As she heads to the Grand Duchy Graal for some diplomatic mission, Captain Urs said that it was nothing to worry about, as we saw him telling Lythe that with his strength he should be fine. But Lythe continues to think, as he explains that there are only 3 guards. It's Lythe, of course, but also Larg and Lieutenant Zack. The lieutenant is a dedicated and sincere individual. We then see him being on top of Larg's shoulder, and basically riding on him, so he asks Zack what this training is for. Zack just tells him that he needs to tone those muscles even when he is on duty, asking if he doesn't want to lose to the newcomer, right? And with that he means Lythe. We then hear Zack screaming to Lythe and telling him that he is also joining, and that just leaves him super shocked. But we then see Iris calling out to Lythe. She starts to smile as she asks Lythe if he remembers when she told him that there could be an assassin among the Royal Knightly Order. Well, the truth is that she got a hold of Knight-exclusive information and got in danger because of it. Iris continues, as she says that since then, she has lost her trust in the Knightly Order's personnel department. She continues as she says that her guess is that the assassin is a pawn of the second Princess Camilla. Iris has been worried ever since. That's why she needed someone she chose to be on her side, and that's why she brought Lythe in. But just as they were talking, Zack screams at him to get back to training and he starts to run off. But Iris yet again calls out to him, telling Lythe that she wants to tell him something else, so he should come to her room later tonight. And Lythe tells her that he understands. With that, it then quickly goes to night, and we see Lythe wandering around in the halls looking for where Iris' room is. But just then he suddenly gets dragged in a room, and let's just say that he gets a pleasant surprise, to put it lightly, as he goes right into Iris' chest. Lythe of course gets super shocked and screams out her name, but Iris keeps on going as she holds his head and asks him if they should spend the night together. Lythe then falls on the floor and he has Iris on top of him as she tells him to keep it down and explaining that it's an order. Iris then starts to take her hand up through Lythe's chest, and Lythe starts to get super embarrassed and flustered as he says her name. After that, their mouths gets extremely close to one another but just then, out of nowhere, there is a knock on the door which shocks both of them. We hear that it's Zack who calls out to her, and Iris then tells Lythe to hide in a closet. Zack, still outside, asks if something is the matter, but she says that there is none at all. Zack continues as he tells Iris that he comes with urgent news and asks if he can come in. While that goes on, we see Lythe just wondering how he managed to end up in this situation. Iris then welcomes Zack into her room, and he walks in. Iris asks Zack what it is that brings him here at such late hours. Zack looks at her and explains that he received word from Larg, who was patrolling outside. He explains that it's a band of thieves coming to raid this place. Because of that, they must make haste to evacuate somewhere safe. However, we see how this seems to catch both Lythe's and Iris' attention. Zack then goes behind Iris and tells her that they don't have time, and that they must make their escape now. Then when he has gotten behind her, he starts to slowly pull out his sword, but just as he is about to slash down Iris, we see Lythe, who comes in and blocks the attack. He screams at Zack and asks him what the meaning of this is, asking why he is pointing his blade towards the princess, and explains that this is an act of treason. Zack just pulls away and explains that if he wipes out both of them, then there will be no trace of evidence left. Iris then screams out, saying that she can't believe that he was the assassin, and as Zack hears that, he just starts to smile right away. After that, he starts to rush forward as he tells them to take this, as he uses his Stone Lance ability. The sword seems to be going dangerously close to Iris, but before it can hit Iris, Lythe grabs onto Iris and shields her. However, he knows that this is bad as he is quickly getting overwhelmed. But just then we see Zack on the ground as he then uses an ability called Stone Hand. Iris falls right down to the floor. Meanwhile, Lythe gets stuck in the middle of some weird stone hands, and we can see how he is quickly getting crushed as he screams out. Zack goes right to Lythe and starts to laugh in his face. He tells Lythe that he is not as impressive as they made him seem. He then starts to hit Lythe, who still is unable to move. Iris calls out to him, but Zack uses stone to bind her to the floor. That's when he gets a smug expression, as he says that this is how he will write the report. He will say that he came rushing to the scene to see Lythe assassinating the princess, and after that Zack defeated him, and with all that in mind, he calls it perfect. But Lythe just says alright, and tells Zack to just die. After that, we can see Lythe sending a punch right to Zack's face. However, his punch doesn't even seem to scratch Zack. He then starts to laugh as he calls it a nice try, but saying that it barely made him tickle. However, that wasn't the goal, as we see that Lythe has obtained the Stone Lance ability, and also the Stone Hand ability, and with those he managed to set himself completely free. Zack starts to panic, as he thinks that he is using his own skills against him. With that, Lythe then uses Stone Hand right around Zack to hold him onto place. But he then goes to him, and uses his fire lance ability to completely set him ablaze. Zack screams out as he calls it impossible, but not long after, he has just gone into nothingness. Iris gets up right away and asks him how his wound on his face is. Lyth looks at her and tells her that it's okay. She then screams out and says that it was expected of the person she found good prospects in. After that, she asks him where they were, and as Lyth hears that, he just screams out asking her to stop. But as that happens, we can see Urs outside of the window. He is just smiling, as he is probably happy that Lyth managed to save her.